It's really stupid.
What's that?
No, because
Sounds good.
last
We're
year
live.
it was the fire inspector. Never knew that it was
Oh,
a
right.
different type. So I'm glad because I don't know some of those community things if they don't tell me.
Well, and I like Facebook friends with her. So I'm like, where are you going? And then she asked for people to come and help move them and things.
Mm.
And then I saw that they went to Ohio.
Huh.
So that's how I know. Otherwise, I know nothing. Hi, Amy.
Hello,
Amy.
Vicki. How are you, ma'am? How's your summer going?
It's fine.
Yeah?
This got my on it.
What?
So this got my on it.
Hey, we're live, Vicki.
Oh, yeah.
I told you.
Can't get so live.
Was it? Didn't I just see Joe?
I'm glad you guys all had a
Oh,
sense
okay.
of humor.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
I was
first
like,
thing
I
that
thought
said
I
in the
saw
board
him.
thing is to
Came in,
have a
dropped his
sense of
stuff, and I
humor. So
think he went
thank
to the
you.
restroom. I think he went to the
Just-
restroom.
You guys are talking to hey, we're live. And Mike's like, I know. I'm like, I really have to tell Vicky. And then I forgot to tell you. And then
I just need one, yeah. And I think Joe does.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting.
Vic, you are too much.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
See, you didn't even have to text me.
That was rude.
Yeah.
Text me. I was like,
I don't
Oh,
care.
last week he
yeah.
texted me, he's like, I'm gonna be a little late.
Had
And I
the
was
board
like,
meeting in my calendar for the last.
yeah.
Oh,
The first when I first read it, I was like,
for what?
yeah.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
and then
It's
it
going,
dawned
like,
on
am
me.
I
It's
missing
Tuesday, and I bet he thinks it's a
Yeah, I was a
Maybe
week
you
ahead
should
of
have your
time.
dad listening.
I'm checking my calendar. Going, am I supposed to be
I
somewhere?
know, I'm like on my way home.
I'm in Germantown.
They listen to They listen to us? Oh, hi, Bill and Susie. I don't know anybody else, so I'll learn all their names and then I'll say greet them all. There's something the matter with me. I told my granddaughter that too. You think I could
Hey, I did not confirm I agree, nor deny I agree.
Okay. I'm glad it's not just me.
I'd like to call the meeting of Silver Lake Salem Joint One School District to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mrs. Galich,
Here.
Mrs. Regner,
Here.
Mr. Hurst,
Present.
Mr. Gentile.
Here.
I am here. Open meeting compliance check.
Yes, it was posted last week.
All right. Public comments. I did not see anyone signed up. I know Mrs. Jevi are speaking a little bit later on. Is there anyone else I would like to do public comments? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda items. Are there any questions on consent agenda items? Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Galich. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Mr. Hurst. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Two things I'd like to ask the board to move item F for board approval further to now, so that if you have any questions, our representative from the organization or the company that we're recommending we go with for the furniture is here. And the other thing I want to do is introduce Ms. Youngblood. She is our new SPED director. So just making sure everybody knows who she is. I kind of forgot that not everybody has seen your face. And Sean Higgs is in the back. She is taking minutes for us. She is our new administrative assistant.
Oh, very nice.
So
Welcome.
do you guys want to just quick introduce yourselves? Because I don't know if Sean knows everybody.
Joe Hurst. Mike Gentile.
Brian Hopkins.
Amy Regner.
Vicky Gallage.
Nice to meet
You'll
you.
have to remember them all. So
By the end of
All
the
right.
night.
Is there a motion to move 8F in front of reports?
I'll move that.
Motion by Mrs. Galich.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second by Mrs. Regner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Furniture vendor.
So I asked Brent Brenner to come to our meeting tonight in case there was any questions. We are, as part of the referendum, as you know, it was included in the referendum to get new furniture. I've removed that from PSI's jurisdiction, so to speak, and doing that, we're doing that ourselves to not have to have the markup that PSI has. So in order to do that, I contacted 3 vendors. We had 2 of those vendors come in and do a presentation to a small group of people, including board members, staff member, and admin. And then we talked after the committee meeting and decided to choose Brent Brenner and Jody Hart. Is that right? From Complete Office Furniture to do the work. They have state bids and bids. It doesn't really matter what company you're going with because they have state contracts and things that kind of, level the playing field in terms of cost. So it's really about who do we want to work with? How are we going to educate our staff on the products and selections that we want to choose? How we're going to get students involved, and who did we think was going to work the best with that committee that will be coming together. I did check with area DAs, and Complete Office Furniture has worked with Lake West Osha, for instance. So I was comfortable with the recommendation as well. And our committee spoke with them, like I said, and heard their spiel, and we're satisfied with that as well. I don't know, Vicki was there and Mike Gentile was there. I don't know if you want to speak to that, and if you have any questions, that's why Brent is here.
I just don't have a particular comment about either one of the vendors, although they both did a very good presentation. But when it comes to asking for proposals, what I would ask is that all vendors receive the same information, and they're also afforded the same opportunity to meet with staff and tour the pertinent areas of the school that will be dealt with. And not just this one, but all the bids that we're coming out with. And if there could be like a check sheet so that when we as a board ask, we're comfortable to know that everyone was given the same opportunity, whether they took us up on it or not, that's another thing. But that's also helpful to know whether they had an interest to see what we needed, what we were offering. I think that's an important part of the bidding or the requisition process. But
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with the recommendation.
As am I.
Okay.
Do we have a process for how we secure bids so that they're consistent for all vendors?
Yeah, typically PSI is doing that, remember, and they're bringing the bids to me this time because I was handling it. We did it a little differently. So both vendors were given the same thing at different times. The one vendor came in the fall and toured the building and met with some staff members. So they had information from that time period. Brent and Jody came, recently. The other vendor had done some markups on it and had already, because I thought at one point we were going to go with furniture earlier, and then we decided to wait till the referendum. So I think that they were afforded it, but maybe not in the same time period. So if I had to do it again, maybe I would have them come out again. I did think, though, that the other vendor could have been a little bit more if she needed more information, she could have said that to me or said, can I come out a second time? But I think in the future, I would just say, hey, we're going to offer you this again. If you want to come back out, come back out. So typically it's trying to get apples to apples, giving the same access, but also the same scope to the work. And we're asking for PSI to do that as well.
Thank you, Kim.
Yep. Thanks, Vicki.
Any other questions?
Anybody have any questions for Brent?
The one thing I guess I will add for the board is that the Complete Office Furniture is offering with the type of
Mm.
furniture that they're presenting, it's a lifetime warranty.
Oh,
Whereas with Forward, there was some that was a 20-year warranty,
Some
but
were 10.
nothing that they presented to us was a lifetime warranty. So, I mean, obviously, are we going to keep the same color scheme for the lifetime? Who knows? But anyway, I just thought that was a nice little caveat to this also.
Lifetime in what regards? Like, what does it cover when you say
A lifetime warranty, what does that cover?
It varies on different furniture. For example, a chair that you sit in where after a while it goes bad, the pneumatic lift goes bad. Manufacturer that we work with, it's a lifetime warranty. So DA's office in Kenosha had called me up. They have one that's almost 20 years old. We got a new pneumatic lift for it. It's covered under warranty.
Okay.
So whether we install it or they do, we could charge something to install it, but for that, it's simple, it's just popping one out, putting another one in. So it's gonna vary
Okay.
with furniture, but we do more K-12 furniture than anybody in the Midwest. So we work with vendors, like Wisconsin Bench, Palmer Hamilton, who does the lunchroom tables you have, Wisconsin companies like that, and we deal with a lot with Han, which is a manufacturer out of Iowa, who owns the market in K-12 furniture, and they're the ones that have the best warranties on everything. So we deal with schools every day, so we know what the laminate on the corner of the tables or the desk get pulled up, or those type of things, and they're all covered.
Just so it's not deliberate damage,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
One of the things that all vendors can do this, as far as furniture, can go to the same manufacturer, get furniture and things. Where we are different than most is the design, and that's why we talked about, one of the first things we talked about is performance charging, design time and layout and furniture layout and things like that. That's all included in what we do. So people can go to use the same UW state contract on furniture, everybody's gonna get the same price. But where the difference is, they're going to charge for design time, for every rendering they do for you, for all these miscellaneous things. Not just because I want to make sure my taxes stay low, but just because that's how we do with all schools. We're Racine Unified right now. I think we saved them almost $30,000 in just design work. So that's always included what we do.
Yeah, I don't think they know how much is going to be on. I don't think you know how much I'll be talking to you about that. He's going to regret that. Because one of the things that was really important to me is that our staff was informed about how to select furniture, and it was very intentionally selected for color, for meeting our values. And so that's one of the things that I really appreciated, is the amount of time that we're going to take to get, because we have the time, because really most of the furniture is not going to be installed until next summer, right? Because we can't be doing that in the middle of the year. And so we have the time to really be deliberate about it and make sure that our resources are matching what the community said in our strategic planning.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Complete Office Furniture of Wisconsin as the vendor for the purchase of classroom and school furniture.
Motion by Mrs. Gelich,
I will second that motion.
second by Mrs. Regner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to the DA report.
Thank you, Brent. I appreciate it. You're welcome to stay, obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first thing, celebrations always. So I should have really celebrated this last month, but if you look up in the right corner is something I love about Riverview, is the tradition of painting those plaques. And so if you get a chance, I'm sure some of you have been there, there's a whole new section of our hallway filled with the new blocks that our kids did. And they really take the time on that. Michelle does an awesome job of getting them, because you can't, they could look really sloppy if there wasn't an art teacher behind that helping them and getting them to think, because and they really take their time, and sometimes they're redoing things and making sure that they're really what they want and representative of themselves. So it's so cool. It's not something I've seen in other schools, so I really like that. So I just wanted to celebrate that and celebrate you, Michelle, too, because I know if I was doing it, what they would look like. And then just, we're in the midst of summer school, and we've had a lot of fun classes, great attendance, I think. Jenny, what did you want to say about summer school?
It's going really well. The kids are all very engaged. If you go around in the room, they're all, to the various rooms, they're all doing something like hands-on, they're working in groups, they're building something, they're constructing. So it's a lot of interactive classes and building a lot of those skills that they might not necessarily get in like a regular school setting, but it's all being built in, and the kids are super excited to be here, so.
So it's been a very smooth summer school session. So just wanted to update, I asked Brian to come. Joe has also been at some meetings, update you on where we are in the referendum. There's a few pieces of the referendum that I've taken out from PSI. Centegix, our crisis alert system, is one of them. So we had our third meeting today. Brian was a part of that. It was pretty brief. I thought it was going to be a little bit more in depth about when the all the materials are here to put up, how that's going to, how they're going to get access to the building, when that's going to happen. We don't have an install date right now, but we've also, Julie's been a part of some of them, some of the meetings, and so has CompuNet. So the materials are here. Our visitor management system, I believe, was installed tonight by Peyton, and our front desk will be trained on that, I think next week. So that's going well. We just have to wait for the date of the install, and then the admin team will get trained, and then it's time to train the staff. So it's moving along. They've been very responsive, and we're getting all the things filled out for them that they need to make sure that it's a smooth transition. Some of the other things that are happening currently is our fob system got installed today. So you may remember me either saying in an update, or maybe I said it in a board meeting, that our fob system, of course, went down like at the end of the school year. And I was unsure if we were going to have to use manual keys like the old days, or if we could do the fob system before our front vestibule was done. So Great Lakes won the bid for that. And they're who we work with anyway. They're so great and just like so helpful. So they were working yesterday and today, and they're coming back again to install or to make sure the fobs are working. And with that came a camera that is going to be on the outside now, so that this year already we have that outside door locked, and that camera so that Patty can see who's coming in. So that's been, that's been one of the biggest things that have moved really quickly. The fence is set to be put in early August. That bid was approved. Our gym floor, the install is August 1st.
What was the cost for the fence?
Well, we don't have the final cost because PSI hasn't given us, that's one of the things Joe and I talked to them about. The raw number was $12,000, but that doesn't include all of the things that go into what PSI's work was done. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's a markup that will happen based on that. That was the raw bid.
And so PSI is when it accepts the bids?
I accept the bids. PSI gathers the bids, presents them to, in this case, they presented them to Brian and I, and then we tell them, they give us a recommendation, right? Yep. Based on that, they had to pull a permit. The permit, I think, has been pulled. That's your understanding too. And Brian, I think there was some things around, Brian wanted to make sure that the fence was exactly where it should be, right? And that kind of thing, but it's set to be in early August.
And so we're even with the markups, less than the original
Oh my gosh, yes.
$60,000.
Yeah. So far, we're coming in under budget on every item.
Okay.
But I've asked, what's that?
She knocked on wood, and I said I was thinking that
I
too.
know. I am asking them to, there's a lot of emails going back and forth and a lot of various communication. It's hard for me to what email do I have to look back on that? So I created a spreadsheet for them that I want them to put all the bids in, everything in one place, because if I have to look back in 2 years, and plus it's a longevity thing for the district, it creates some history of why we chose what we did. And so I asked our project manager to utilize that document to make sure it's all in one place for me so that I can keep things straight. Because it's really like this telephone debacle that we're in right now. you know, you can't remember, like, was it that bid or was it this bid? And there's just too many emails going back and forth.
So when they place it in your spreadsheet, are they putting down what the bid is and then what their, like, administrative fee, for lack of a better term,
That'll be
is?
something else. So what they're gonna do is I asked them to put the vendor names, link all the bids
Okay,
in one
oh,
spot,
that's
the
good.
bid that won.
Yep.
And any notes that we have to have, so that I would be able to say at any time if someone had a question, I could pull it up.
Good.
Joe was at our last meeting and asked them, and he said he was going to be getting that to us. Because one of the things that PSI said is like, well, we're gonna wait because we're gonna put some of all of these things together, so that we're not piecemealing every little project with all the markups. And Joe, you can speak to it if you want to. And we both said, well, Joe basically said, you know about how much you're gonna charge us, so just can you put that in there?
Yeah, I mean, and they said that they would.
Yeah.
It's not something that they typically do, which is not uncommon. A lot of contractors don't put their markup on each individual bid. They throw that in at the end of the project. That's not how I do them. We do what we call open book markups, so our customer knows what our markup is with each scope of work. And so we asked them to do that, and they have said that they would be willing to do that.
I think it's, for me, the reason it's really important is that I have to manage our funds that are in, like, that we have in cash. And if they're withdrawing funds, I have to know what the costs are so that I don't withdraw. I don't want to end a bond early, right? And if I'm paying Centegix and I don't know what they're going to pull from our account, I have to know, do I have the money for Centegix? Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Or I have to ask Centegix to wait. So I can't wait for them to tell me what it's going to be in a couple months, because some of our CDs and bonds won't be matured then. So because I'm managing some of it, I felt like it was important for me to know, like, okay, what are these pulls going to be and how much is that going to be? So I know how much is left over. And then if there's other things we need to allocate money to, we know exactly how much we're going to have.
And PSI should give us a good idea of what those are going to be, what are going to be. It's not going to be, we pay each time we have a project.
Right.
They'll be what they call draws, which is there's an estimation for the total cost of the project. Depending on what percentage PSI determines that we're at in completion of that 100%, they'll bill on a draw, whatever that percentage of project completion is.
Yep. Okay. The doors, Brian, did you want to speak to that? Because I know you brought
Yeah, I mean, today they dropped off some colors. We're gonna go with the blue that matches the rest of the doors. They're gonna be fiberglass, aluminum frames. They're put on order now, and they're thinking 6 to 10 weeks. Probably will be during the school year where we'll just have to rope that area off and work around it. Won't take that long, but we can deal with it. So they're in the works, and they'll be in when they get here, and we'll be good.
How many doors are we doing?
6.
6.
So the 3 on both sides of the gym.
Depending on the size of their crew, they should be able to do about a door a day.
Yeah. So I guess the big thing is tearing out the old frames that are all rusty.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's like anything, when you're remodeling, you don't know what's behind what you're taking out. So there's a potential for a can of worms, but if everything's standard, it should be about a day per door.
and they're going to be fiberglass, so they won't rust like the old ones are.
With the
They should
aluminum
be great
frames
for
as
a long
well.
time.
Yeah.
So
Okay, and now I'm gonna let Brian talk about the boilers, ductworks, and controls. We did approve the bid with Helm. We did have that one rooftop unit going out, so there was an extensive conversation about that as well, because we didn't want to order it or repair it, right, and spend $5,000 to repair it only to replace it later. So there was some of that conversation,
So yeah, it's the rooftop unit 2 that takes care of the library, the art room, part of the office. We decided, or you guys decided, to go ahead and get that going as far as on order, because it was on the dock to take care of next summer. So it's ordered, and when it gets here, we'll work around it as far as installing it, taking the old one off, putting a new one on. So
And the boilers are started.
Boilers are demolition of the old ones is in the next 2 weeks. The guy was here yesterday measuring. They'll tear out the old ones. They'll pour some cement for the new ones because the new ones are giants, I guess. So we're going from 3 boilers to 2, but they need to pour some cement for a pad. Within the next 3 weeks, they are thinking they're gonna be putting the new ones in. So
Awesome.
should be good.
Controls ductwork is happening.
Yeah,
As
right
well.
now, they measured the ductwork that's on the rooftop. That's kind of a vinyl base right now. They measured that all with laser measures last week. And now they'll go back to their shop and produce the metal ones that should have been done like that originally. And they'll take care of that as soon as those are all made and ready to be installed. So.
Okay. Telephones, PAs, and clocks. So that's called all one unit. We took out the clocks because it was, Brian just said, I'll do it. And he saved us about $5,000 because he ordered them. So that was a great savings. After much to do around the telephones, the bid that won was Munger. And they're a local company. I have personally worked with them before. Really, they bid on if you remember, our MSP services. They did not win that. But CompuNet has worked with Munger before, so I have a call in the next 2 days with them to get them out. So that will be done we don't have a date yet, but by the end of summer. And then the lighting, we are still waiting on bids. So we had a bid come through, and I talked to PSI. I think they were, asking that, there's only so many people that can bid. And I said, I need to see 2 to 3 bids so that we are sure that we're getting the best price. So that's coming as well. The rest of the things that are, sort of major, we met in with admin, and depending on who it was affecting, the office team was there, to talk about some of these other areas: playground, furniture, front office, science lab, and courtyard. Very high level. Brian was there as well. Basically, we talked about the things that we needed. They had some renderings. We sent them back with more ideas. They have to price it out, right? Because, you're asking for the Taj Mahal, and then they come back and you're like, well, I guess we don't really need that. So that's part of what they're doing now. So that will be happening more in the fall. The playground and the furniture is going to be more like a committee work with parents and kids and staff, so that we're getting ideas and everybody feels invested. I will say to Brian's been excellent, really taking the ball with this and handling a lot of it. I really appreciate it. Lots of responding to contractors. I'm asking to meet with him on top of all the cleaning and other things that he's doing. It's been really great to have him on our side, and with all the history that is in the building, being able to say that and sort of weigh in. So I really appreciate it, Brian.
Thank you.
You've definitely gone above and beyond. And it was very helpful to have Joe there because Joe can really speak the language. And I think when you have someone that knows what they're talking about and can really ask hard questions, it's been really good. Bruce has also been very pivotal in helping with the phones. Again, it's a whole, VoIP system. It's going to the cloud, all of that. So he's really weighed in and pushed back a lot on some of the bidding and asked some of the hard questions. So I feel like we've gotten to a really good place where it's apples to apples, and we've asked some hard questions so that hopefully we don't, and hindsight's always 20/20, but so that we get the best now that's going to have longevity for the school.
I'd actually like to just throw in here and give Bruce some credit as well, because he dug into some language and stuff with the phone systems that I don't know that any of us here would have had the capacity to understand, and got some answers for us to help us make a really well-informed decision on the phone systems.
Yeah. So Joe had a conversation with him about that specifically. So, and he's done a lot of the legwork with a couple of these companies. And so I feel really confident about that.
Question for you, Kim, on, looking at like the gym stuff. are we looking at replacing like the sound system, like a kind of a facelift, some of that stuff in there?
I think the board will have to decide as we get closer, where are our funds? Are things still coming in under, what is the money that's left? And here are the list of things. And, what are we going to prioritize? Because I think that's a really big piece of it. And I guess you never know what's going to happen in the next year or, 18 months. Also, I didn't know the FOD system was going to go, right? And so I think the answer is we have to wait and see what else can be done with those funds.
Do we kind of have a running list? So at the 9th hour when it's
Sure.
this is
Yes,
okay.
people have been coming to me like, are we doing this? Well, you never said that to me when I was asking for things.
Yeah.
So yes, we do have a running list.
Well, which is a big plus and a big change, because one of the things that we were missing in previous years is that we did not have a good account of where our systems were at and when we needed to be replaced. And so now we've made that a point of emphasis to not only understand where our systems are at, but also plan for when their life expectancy is done and what we're going to do to replace those in staged periods, as opposed to like we're at now, everything all at once.
In terms of the gym floor, I know we talked about, it's being replaced now in August. Are we investing in like new chairs that have bottoms? Are we putting processes in place so kids
Chairs
aren't?
will have new bottoms as of today. Yeah, they're done. So, yeah, we ordered them and took care of them. So,
Awesome.
yeah, all new tips on them.
So as like we're talking about furniture, Brian brought up the doors and colors. Do we have a big
And what
like Brian just brought up like we're going
Oh,
with
the
the blue
covers.
colors,
colors?
colors of the
Colors.
doors
Those are
and
both doors.
Oh, colors.
Colors.
yes.
I was like,
I'm-
colors? What is colors?
No, do we have like a big, so rather than attacking every little thing as it comes up, do we have a big picture of what we're kind of thinking? So as we're talking furniture, what we expect the theme to be around the school.
Like our branding kind of.
Yeah, so it's all
Same,
cohesive and it's not.
Yes.
same
Okay.
font, same color, some of that stuff.
Yeah. So Julie and I worked a lot on that.
Yes.
The fonts, the colors. We have something that's in our drive that has all of those things.
Okay.
That's part of some of the things that we did right when we came in. So you'll see even on our the website, but on all of our PowerPoints and things, all of that is cohesive in that. And part of what Brent's team's going to do is help us match that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not piecemeal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want it to look junky. Yes, I know. And we have a lot of really good people on our staff with great eyes. Julie is really good at that. Jenny's really good at that. Michelle is really good at that, and making sure that it's all coming together.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on the referendum?
I saw the west of the eye post.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
I forgot to say that. So we did do a press release. I sent it to them last week. So the press release went out. Julie is going to post it. Have you posted it yet? Posted on social media, and it is on our website as well. Just an update about where we are in the referendum, similar to what I did tonight. And we are doing a community newsletter. Julie and I are working on that right now. Some of it has the budget updates, and we're thinking about how can we get a little bit more of the referendum in there as well. So that newsletter, we're hoping to go out mid-August. When we start to get things that we can take a picture of, I will do that as well. Right now, there's just not much to take a picture of.
Awesome.
Okay. Budget updates. So notice our friend is back, Tim. I'm going to speak to some things. He's going to go over some things. I've been sharing some things with you. Thanks, Brent, for coming.
You're welcome.
Some things with you in the board updates, and I'm sure that you've been watching the biennial budget. So wanted to just highlight some things and talk about a little bit about the impact of it. I'm trying to do that in the community newsletter as well. There's no per pupil change or state equalization aid. So what that means really is the legislators have not given us more money in that regards. And so it disproportionately will place more tax burden on taxpayers, because usually state equalization aid and per pupil funding goes up. And because that's not happening, we still have the same amount, but the amount the taxpayers pay is going to be a little bit higher, and we're not exactly sure because state equalization aid amounts come out in mid-October or October 1st, Tim, which I would get those mixed up.
Beginning of the property value,
Yeah,
October 1st.
okay. So we'll know more about that then. I think one of the biggest things that came out is that there'll be an increase in special ed aid. So currently, I think currently we're in this and will be some certain, which means there's a big pot of money. And Tim, speak up if I don't say it correctly. There's a big pot of money, and they're estimating last year that we would get 30% reimbursement for all of our categorical spending. If there is more spending by districts, that may fluctuate because there's only this big pot of money, right? So then maybe you get 29%, or you maybe get a little bit more, 31 if districts underspend. So what we were asking for is that it wouldn't be some certain, so that if it said 30%, we would get 30%. That's what the school districts were lobbying for. It stayed some certain, so that means if school districts, if there's a lot of spending, even though they said in the first year it's going up to 42%, we may only get reimbursed at like 40%. Okay, so it's a little bit shaky. The likelihood of us getting reimbursed at 30%, that's not going to happen, but it's not exactly 42. So that's a little bit misleading, I think, sometimes for the public. So what the first year they said it's going to go up to 42%, second year 45%. Remember, we were asking for 60%. So it came in lower, but it is an increase. We budgeted conservatively at 37%. So right now that is showing an impact on our budget of about $66,000. But if we get more, it could mean up to $112,000. Does that make sense to you guys? High cost, which is also associated with special ed, went from 19.2% to 50% in next year, and then up to 90% in the school year or fiscal year 2027. It sounds like, again, it's a little misleading, like, oh, look at, they're getting this huge increase. It really depends on your claims. And this year, for example, we had $11,800 in claims, right? So it's not like we're getting another $100,000 added to our budget. And it's hard to know exactly how much that's going to be because it depends on the needs of our students and what we can claim.
Do we have, like, for that instance, do we have any one-on-one paraprofessionals for behavior?
We have, so last year, Tim and Angie worked very hard to look at all of the one-on-ones, all of the different things that you can claim in there, to make sure that we were getting the most that we could out of the high cost spending.
So are any of those aid salaries coming out of the high cost then?
So partial, right? Because high cost is a percentage above 30,000. You know that, but not everybody does. So first you have to reach $30,000 threshold for a student. And then if let's say they reach 35,000, you get this year 19% back of that 5,000, not of the 35,000.
That's whatever's over the
Yes.
30,000. And that holds true for 25 or 26 and 27 as
Yes.
well. Okay.
And so the answer to you is yes, but most of our paraprofessionals don't make more than 30,000. But what happens is when you put paraprofessionals in with speech, with OT, with PT, it starts to build up. And then if you're claiming Medicaid, you can't also claim high cost. That's double dipping. So there's a whole bunch of moving parts. So again, happy that we were granted an increase, but the impact isn't as great as it seems when you see it going from 19 to 50 to 90.
But is that figure cumulative, or is it just like per student?
It's per year, per student. Am I saying that right, Tim?
Yes.
Okay. Per year,
Okay.
per student.
So if one student has what you said, all the different factors involved, and then that total amount goes over the 30,000, then you get
A percentage back
the person
above 30,000.
per, okay.
So if it was 40,000, you'd get this year 19.2% back
Right.
of $10,000.
I got that. I just wanted to understand it's per
Yeah.
student.
It's tricky.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I got that.
Yeah, I know it's tricky. That's why Tim is good at, it's good that I'm saying it because then Tim can say, yes, I'm saying it correctly so that you're hearing it the right way. The other thing that's going to impact our budget is right now, although today there was a little bit of a change, the federal government is withholding, is putting on hold. I shouldn't have said withholding. They've had it like embargoed, our Title II and Title IV funds. I did get a memo today that said that they've now released Title IV. And so both of those things, obviously we depend on, it would be, if both of those did not occur, it'd be about a $17,000 negative impact on our budget. And then the other big thing that happened was open enrollment cost. Well, open enrollment reimbursement went up, and you can see what it was this year, what it's going to be next year, and then FY27. So we're in good shape because we have more open enrollment coming in than going out. But for some districts, it's going to really hurt because they have more going out than coming in. So it both helped us, but also the costs that we have associated with kids that are going to other districts also went up, obviously, and that'll impact our budget as well. Tim, do you want to talk now, or do you want me to go through projections for 25, 26?
Why don't we do projections?
Okay.
That would give us a little bit better
Sure.
perspective.
So again, no per pupil change, no per pupil aid or state equalization change in the biennial budget. Low revenue ceiling stays the same. That doesn't really affect us because we're above that. Right now, our estimated projection of open enrollment coming in is about 900,000 and going out is about 700,000. That is changing daily as well. Every day, Andrea is coming to me like, I have another student, or these people change their mind. They actually do when it comes. So there's some changing. That's kind of a moving target. We are Courtney is looking at possible transfer of service for a couple of students that are coming in, which will impact our budget. Transfer of service allows us to increase our tax levy if the student coming in requires additional things that we would have to hire for. So we have to hire an aide because the student is coming in, or we have to hire a teacher. So we're looking at what we can do in terms of that and possibly hiring some additional staff.
Tim, can you raise that and not hire?
Say again.
Can you still like take the transfer service but not hire? Like still take the increase?
That is correct.
Okay.
If you know that you intend to hire, but you can't find, you can't find a person in September to take that position, you can still apply for transfer of service. Great question.
But do you have to try?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, if they come
Good
back
faith.
and audit, you have to show that you made a good faith try at trying to find that position.
What if you don't?
You probably have
If
to
you
pay
don't
it back.
hire,
Yeah.
you still, it would be approved at the end of September, and you would be able to add that onto your levy. And the only thing you can't do is do it again the next year. But I worked with a district 2 years ago that needed 3 one-to-one special ed aides. And at the start of the year, they couldn't find three candidates that would be acceptable. And they ended up hiring, I think, 2 out of 3 before I left the district at the end of the budget cycle in October, November. But you are right that it's good to identify that's mid-September. The other district that they're coming from or the other government agency would have to then confirm, and then that would be approved by DPI in the third week.
And that increase in the levy is forever, right? And it will never drop off.
So if we had, I'll make up numbers, if we hired two one-to-one aides at $50,000 each, that would be $100,000. We would add that to our levy this coming year, and then that would go into the average. That never goes away. Even though the kid or kids could go away or go to another district in the meantime.
So Courtney, Andrea and I are meeting this week to look at staffing and where we are with class sizes and projections and where we are with needs within the building. So we probably, if we have to hire, we'll have to have a special board meeting because we will want to get those things posted and hired in hopefully early August. So preliminary estimates right now, $156,000 deficit for next year. However, there's a lot of moving parts, and so it's very preliminary. Third Friday count will impact that. Property values that we just talked about, the state equalization aid, federal aid, right? If we get some of that back, and if there's any increase in that. Post-employment benefit decisions we have still yet to make. Remember, we're reconvening in the fall. And then if we do any hiring.
For that third Friday count, are you allowed to like incentivize that day for kids to come, like giant pizza party, something?
Yeah, so
You
I
can.
used to do that.
We do it on like picture retake day.
Yeah, we used
We
to
have
do that
pictures
too.
that day.
We don't typically have a lot of it. Like, I'm
No,
always
we
surprised,
don't
like, well, how
miss a
many
lot.
kids are, and they're like 7. I'm like, 7? And we always know exactly like, okay, those 7 kids, they were here or they had
Yeah,
a
as long
doctor's
as they're
appointment.
here within the next,
Yes,
they were either here how
One
many days
day after.
before or after. So we don't typically,
a 3-day window.
yeah, we don't, yeah. It's not like if they're not there that day,
Yeah.
they can't. they
And
can't count, but-
if for some reason they were gone for an extended period of time, like vacation, you can have that
Mhm.
adjusted. You just contact DPI, it's adjusted, but you're just not paid, you're paid later in the year for that.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, I'll go through this and then I'll put up the other one. So just a quick update on 24-25. We're still haven't been completed our audit. Tim and I spoke with Baird yesterday. So preliminarily, this is what it looks like for our expense wins. You can see moving to health insurance was a great win for us. There is some question about whether that can be looked at as a win this 24-25 budget year or 25-26. So that's going to impact and swing whether we're going to end in a surplus, not in a deficit as we had projected. So that's a great swing. But how much that surplus is will swing based on what the auditor says we can do with that $60,000. But you see where some of the other wins are coming in, where we went over in the expenses with retirees, right? We had our custodial, one of our head custodians retire, and then we had 2 other retirees that, we did an agreement with. And then you can see that in revenues, we under budgeted and came in higher both in interest, open enrollment in, common school fund, and we knew that the mental health grant was going to come in. We just never know when it's going to come in. So the other thing in the budget for 25-26 is they increase the mental health pot of money that they will allocate for schools. This year we got about $13,000. I budgeted for $13,000 next year. The likelihood of that will be that it will increase. However, for 26-27, that number will go down. So what they did is, I can't remember exact numbers. Let's just say it was 600,000 total money that they allocated for 2 years. The first year they're giving us 400,000. The next year they're giving us 200,000. So they didn't increase the pot of money that they're allocating. They just shifted it. So we'll receive less money in the 26-27 school year.
And as you go over the budget, and you'd also mentioned you guys are looking at class sizes and where we may have to hire.
Yep.
What is
what are your focus areas right now that you guys are keeping an eye on?
Kindergarten and first grade.
Okay.
But we also have a few students that are coming in that are requiring high medical support. And so we're also looking at that and what makes sense. Does it make sense to hire a teacher? Does it make sense to hire paras? You know, where are those areas? And also, Courtney is really looking at this week, how are we using our current EAs? Do we have movement in, can they spend some time in first grade classes or kindergarten classes? That kind of thing. Our other classes are fine. It's really those two. And what's happening is, oh yeah, we're fine right now. And then, oh, I have a tour, two more are coming in, and it just shifts it. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Okay. So the other thing we wanted to just share with you is, now I have to make sure I can do this right. Let me get- Oh, okay, here. Is a format that you have seen before. We've shared this a few times, and so Tim's going to go over, this is sort of what Tim and I use when we're talking about and we're doing some sort of checks for outliers, right? So we look at all the funds and say, are we within budget? Is there an outlier? Do I have to be concerned about that? And if there is an outlier, is there a reason? Did we have to replace something, right? And so knowing those things. So Tim's going to talk you through a little bit of that because one of the things that he is sort of advocating for is that this is the format we use going forward, starting in January, right? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to do a lot of that updating too early because not much is spent and not much revenue is coming in.
This would be my, excuse me, my recommended format for the budget adoption that we get to in October. And it's also the format that I used when I was full-time Director of Business Services in Waupun about 10 years ago. And I liked it. There's more information here. When I was on the school board in West Bend, they did not use this format. And I was a little frustrated that I didn't see a little bit more details. I don't need to know every line item, but I would like to know, okay, how are you monitoring and where are we? So I have really two goals, actually three. The first one is not to go too long on explaining this. The second one is to give you insight on how we're monitoring budget versus actual. And then of course, I'll call it a pilot program. I would suggest that we try to do this and maybe even supplement it with some quick explanations of how school finance works. It's a little bit different than keeping your checkbook where you have a balance and then you get revenues in and you write checks and now you know how much you still have. Hopefully everyone is doing that. So here's my start, and
Are you using a laser?
I thought I was using it, but maybe I'll go up here
Okay,
just so that I can.
because I can move it for you.
Right. So as you can see here, our budget is going to be in this column. We did our first review in January. We were looking for outliers, not paying attention to the exact number. We did another one in March and we did another one in May. And now I've done another one at the end of July, but keep in mind, not all the expenses and not all the revenues are still in. Taxes, basically, you can see here at the end of May, this is what we had for tax revenue, and which is surprising sometimes for school business managers is the rest of it. This difference right here of maybe $800,000 really doesn't come to the district until August. That's called an August settlement. So you have to, you record it as a revenue in the year just finished, but yet you don't get the monies.
And that's because we don't make our final payment until July. So they do that final reconciliation in August.
That's a great comment that what used to be, it used to be where you could use that as as a tax deduction, I would pay everything by December 31st, personally in West Bend, and then that monies would come to the district in January. Some people choose the so-called 50-50, where you pay in half in January and then you pay the other half in July. So a month later, you would get those. And every district that I've been in, now 14, I used to think that, is there a consistency of, would every district get 35% in January, 35% in February, and then the 30% in August? And the answer is no. It's all over the board.
It's based on what's actually paid in,
Absolutely.
only because I used to help with that reconciliation. So it really is based upon which taxpayers pay it when, and then they do the reconciliation. And that's when the districts receive their money.
Right. Here's one win right here, which would be the number 280, interest on investments. We were very conservative, saying we're gonna earn $30,000 on investments last year about this time. And then as we got closer to the election, we had no idea if the Fed was gonna lower rates. So we went with 30, and we actually have 42,000 that we earned in interest. And I believe, as I speak, we have one more interest payment earned to record. In the next section right here is 927,000. This is open enrollment in. So other districts are paying us for students that are coming in, and our actual number was 927,000. Okay, we'll take that win. Keep in mind, if we have 2 students that pull out during the year at 10,000, I'll use round numbers each, that would lower this by 20,000, and now we would show a short deficit. So my recommendation to districts is always be conservative on this number. As we go down here, where you can see, here's our budget in green for state equalization aid. And then I have put that we're gonna receive it all. They actually did a holdback. DPI every year gives us almost all of that money, except for they hold back maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3% and try to make some adjustments at the end. This is really interesting because it doesn't come 1/12 each month, but rather we get 15% of this total of this 2,480,000. Maybe I shouldn't touch the board. Sorry. We get 15%, and then the next payment that we get from the state is at the beginning of December. That is why fund balance, a certain amount in fund balance, is critical. Otherwise, the district would have to short-term borrow to get through what I would call the first bottleneck. But pretty much, I think here we're going to be pretty much on budget. This right here, can't remember without looking at my notes, but we didn't expect any money here. That might have been mental health.
It is a mental health grant. I was
Right.
just going to say that. Yep.
Okay, and going down further on revenues, in the next section, these are primarily grants. And the number to point out would be this 188,000. We had budgeted 40, and the reason that figure is much larger than what we budgeted is we spent a grant differently. Normally you would spend all the money in special education, and we decided we would spend it on this person. And when we chose that, we had to record it in Fund 10 rather than special education. Fund 10 being the general fund. And then going down to this, to the sum total, notice right here, this is our total, 6,255,000. And I believe it was 6,166,000. So we're ahead of budget here for revenue. Let's go to expenses. I like this chart personally as a business manager and as a board member so that I can have some comparisons. For example, undifferentiated curriculum, most teachers, our budget is 2,350,000, and our actual expenses so far are 2,241,000. So we're about $100,000 ahead. I can explain some of that, and that is typically we would do a health insurance payment of $65,000 each month, and Sue Schultz, before she took a well-deserved vacation, said I recorded it on July 1st. I'm not sure as I speak, that would be my strategy, so this could be a little bit less. But we can tell, these would be the middle school students, 140,000 would be Phi-Ed, 160,000 would be co-curricular. And then we get into some of the leadership, like pupil services would be school counselors, would be special education directors, some OT, occupational therapists, PT. 220 is going to be curriculum and instruction. Usually there's a director there. General administration, my pencil is back up there, but we beat the general administration. That's the Board of Education and the district administrator, but we did okay there. Maybe the easy one in this district, we have one person in school administration, the principal. So this is pretty close to budget. Business administration, here's one to look at a little bit. We budgeted 801,000. We came under about 80,000. How did we do that? First of all, we changed the custodial team, and that saved on salary and benefits about $34,000. Our busing was a little bit less. I don't think the consultant is in there. Consultant is actually in general administration. So I believe we beat this budget by a little bit as well. And then you have insurance, debt services, and then other services. So just a couple more lines. If you could scroll down, please. This would be the transfer amount from Fund 10 to Fund 27. Fund 10 is the general fund, Fund 27 is special education. Every district in Wisconsin runs a deficit in the special education fund. So at the end of the fiscal year, you must make a transfer. You cannot have a fund balance or a deficit. And my best guess as of a week ago is we will beat budget by maybe 30,000, but we still have some expenses to record. And then on 430, this total right here is open enrollment out. Again, we were conservative and we beat budget by about $40,000. But again, if you have students moving around, they start in the district, then they move out, you want to be conservative. So we're at 6,090,000, and if we, considering on this chart right now, we're probably plus 125-ish. even though we projected a deficit, but we've had a couple of wins. And we're pretty happy, and I'd have to say that District Administrator Taylor has really paid attention to the line items. From my experience, it's good to be in a district more than 1 year. That's my disadvantage, is I don't know the institutional history of how we were spending money. I have one advantage, and some of the new people have one advantage, is I can always go, why are you doing that, if you're the brand new person? And sometimes it's because we've always done that. And sometimes maybe that's not the best strategy to spend money. We'll go really quickly here. Fund 21 is student activities. Not too much to say. We'll go up for a little bit further. Here's the fund balance. Cannot be zero, or it has to be zero in Fund 27. Keep going. We have a couple numbers I have in orange that will probably still change a little bit. And then expenses, Fund 27. We were under a little bit from the budget, and we don't have our budget number here.
Yeah.
But in any case, let's keep going. Debt service, that would be our energy efficiency. Here are our revenues and expenses. We have some admin expenses, and we'll have a new fund right here, Fund 39. That will be the referendum monies, and then we'll actually put another one in, Fund 46, that you'll vote on a little bit later. And then food service, maybe just to point out, and the ending fund balance is not here, but it was about 188,000. DPI said, has told several districts, stop. You can have 3 months fund balance. I'm not sure personally if I agree with that, but you can have 3 months fund balance, and we had maybe 6 or 7. So they're expecting us meaning Silver Lake, to spend it down. And then one more fund, we will add Fund 80. And we've had several strategic discussions, one being middle school athletics. If you make it open to all the kids in the districts, that could be Fund 80 rather than in Fund 10. So that could be a small win already for next year. This is the format that I would propose that we show you maybe as soon as the next meeting. And instead of all of these numbers, we'll show you audited 23, 24. We'll show you our budget for the year just finished. We'll show you year to date, and then we'll show you the new budget. So you have a little bit of a comparison, and you can ask specific questions. Hey, what about this? And what I'm interested in reviewing with Kim is, if we had 200,000 in our expense budget and this year we've only got 70, I would expect to know what's causing that $130,000 savings. And I like this because you're looking for outliers every time, but it gives you a little bit bigger picture. So that's my proposal. If you think that this would be helpful as a board, then we'll start giving you an update every month. Questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a couple comments. One, I'd like to commend you. I like this format. It's easy to read, easy to understand. My only other comment that I would make is I would just like to see a column to show what the balance is, so I don't have to figure it out. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I like to be treated like, I don't know math.
That's in fund
But-
balance?
No, well, like if you have your budget
Yes.
and you have your year-to-date expense, then I would like to see what the
running total.
unobligated expense money is or revenue is.
Okay.
just so I don't have to figure it out. And it's just makes it just one more column for me would help. But Tim, I'd like to thank you for this. This is really a good format.
The other thing that I did that you don't see,
Right.
the last one that we did, I'll use food service. I eliminated these three. So here was the budget I was comparing to, and then I had numbers here, and I put one
Percentage.
more column in with percentage.
Oh.
So if we're at, say, January, and you look at expenses for salary and benefits, you would expect 50%.
Right.
From my experience, we're probably gonna be at 54 because we have summer payrolls. And the payrolls come in very regularly, but we spend all our supplies at the beginning of the year, so we're gonna be over a little bit. But I personally like this as a board member and as a business manager.
So the last few times we've shared it with you, I've shared that percentage for you. Because, you know, this is year end, so we're just closer to 100% in every area unless we're really under or over. But prior to that, there was a column and it was in red and it had percentages.
I'd echo Vicky's comments. This is very easy to digest, and it gives you basically a map of finding the outliers, like you said. I mean, it's all right there in front of you. You can see it. This is much more easily digestible than what we've seen in the past.
I only have one more suggestion, and I would make this, when I was on the Board of Education in West Bend, the other 6 board members, I made the offer, would you like to meet one-on-one or one-on-two so we don't have a quorum and talk about how does school finance work? Really basics for what I would consider for board members and district administrators. How does the revenue limit work? How do I calculate the mill rate? Is the mill rate really the factor or is it the net levy? Yes. And if you as a board decide you want to do that, I would be glad to, we could even make it, I don't know, 45 minutes, 60 minutes if you're interested. That would just frame it also a little bit different as to how some of the formulas work against each other.
Okay. Tim, are you going to stay or are you going to go?
I'm going to stay.
Okay, because we're going to have a discussion about Fund 46. And so if there's additional questions, you know, between Tim and I, we probably can handle it. Any other thoughts or questions?
Thank you. Tim.
Very thorough.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
very
Tim.
much so.
Okay, so now Jenny's gonna, I asked Jenny, well, she actually volunteered, so. So I didn't, yeah, I mean, it was kind of mutual. She is going to talk a little bit about our family and student surveys that were conducted this past year, and take you through a high-level look at where the results landed.
So both students and families were given surveys at the end of the year. They were not the same survey for the students and the same survey for the family. They had different questions tailored to the two groups. The survey was very similar to the survey that went out the previous year, so we could compare year-over-year data for it. The staff, not this year, the year before, created the survey, and there were a couple tweaks for it this year. The family surveys had 16 questions, the students had 17. We divided the family survey into 3 areas, the questions into like culture, teaching, and communications, where the student survey were divided more into like the values, like that circle of all our values you see over, which there's not one here at the moment.
Yeah, autonomy, collaboration.
Yeah. Autonomy, collaboration, perseverance, respect, communication, love of learning. So then we could compare the results from last year to this year and see what areas we did better in, if we did worse in any areas, and then what might attribute that. So one of the questions that was just on the parent survey was, it was very open-ended, what 3 words would you use to describe a review? And we didn't put like a choice of it, we wanted to see what parents would say. And there were certain trends throughout it. The most common words used were family, welcoming, fun, caring, small, and then the next 2 were equal, safe, excellent, and community, helpful, helpful, happy, friendly, and engaging. So they're all super positive words, and they all kind of mean the same kind of feeling of her culture. So this was the family survey results. 2024 is in blue and 2025 is in yellow. And the questions that related to culture were stuff about, do their kids feel safe at school? Are there enough extracurricular activities? Are your kids happy? Do they feel welcome, etc.? And there was a definite increase from last year to this year in the culture of the school, which is really positive in the right direction. The teaching and learning questions were related to, are there enough academic supports? The classrooms are up to date. The class sizes are appropriate. My child can understand what they're learning. And that area we did go down in. And then when we get to it, the next slide kind of explains why we might have saw that. And then the last one was communication. And there are questions like, I understand my child's report card. Parent concerns are handled appropriately. I feel comfortable talking to the school. The Riverview's communication keeps me informed. And that was just slightly better this year, but pretty comparable. So the culture score was an increase when I then analyzed the questions further to look at which question had the biggest increase from last year to this year. The question was, there are enough after-school activities in place for my child. And we added a gaming club this year that Mrs. McGarvey spearheaded, and that was very popular. We had bigger Battle of the Books teams. There was a comic book club, and then we've had always drama backstage every year, but there was a lot of fifth graders who did it this year, and previously those students were not able to participate in that, so it was new to them, even though the activity wasn't new. So that was positive. The teaching and learning score, as you saw in the other graph, went down the most, and the question that by far was for the results of that was, Riverview has up-to-date classrooms that support modern learning, which makes sense. We went to the referendum, we got it passed, we need to upgrade things, and that was reflected very much in the survey, but that question by far was the reason that overall category went down. And then the communication, which was pretty stable from last year to this year, slightly improved. We've improved the website, we've improved our social media presence. There are family newsletters that go out monthly, and we have the biannual community newsletters that go out to everyone in the area, whether or not you have schools. Whether or not you have children at the school. So that accounted for the increase in that area. The next one was then the student surveys. And the students were given the survey in tech class, so they were all administered by Mrs. Strasser in the same way. The kids wouldn't need to worry about like, oh my gosh, when my teacher looks at what I'm filling out, what will they think? There was none of that. They were given in May, they'll be given again next year. And just like the family surveys, they were created by staff. And these were just divided into our values. So again, 2024 is blue and 2025 is yellowish orange. And as you can see, unlike the family survey where we did go down in one area, we consistently went up in like everything across the board here. So that's very good. The autonomy was questions like, I know what I'm learning about, I can pay attention, sorry.
That's okay.
Collaboration, pretty self-explanatory. Perseverance, if something is hard, I have time to work through it. And that like teachers explain things, I thought that was interesting. Communication, love of learning, and then respect was also included, like feeling accepted and about teachers showing respect to all students, not necessarily just them. The biggest increase was in the area of autonomy, and it was under for the question, I can understand and explain what I'm doing. And with the older grades switching to more of a PBL focus, students are taking more ownership of their learning. They're working on projects that are important to them. They're being made to explain it to others, so they have a much deeper understanding and they're much more excited to do these projects. So that was reflected in the score there. And then the communication area also went up, and that was largely due to the question of that my teachers communicate to me about what assignments are due and stuff like that. And with the PBL, they're getting regular check-ins. They're breaking down, you're not just doing this giant project. We're going to do this step first. We're going to check in. We're going to do this step first, evaluate the check-in. So they're getting constant feedback, and then the next steps are, because K2 did not take the student survey because, well, they can't read, and even if you read it to them, it's very difficult. So looking at making a survey that might have questions with pictures like that perhaps, or something along those lines, where they would just choose like, yep, it's great, it's okay, it's bad, instead of a 5-point scale, maybe a 3-point scale. rewording the questions, so the gist of the questions are the same, but it's focusing more on the words of our values. So instead of saying teamwork, like we use teamwork in my classroom, we do collaborating in our classroom. So they're hearing those same values over and over again, and then making sure teachers are using those words when they're working with students, like, oh, wow, you're really persevering on this task versus you're trying very hard. And then we also brought this information to the SAIL conference that we went to in beginning of June. And some of the questions as well as the values are being incorporated into our adult learning frameworks. So again, for consistency throughout the school and throughout the building.
Are we surprised by the participant drop off?
I was gonna ask something similar.
Like, what do we think the cause of that is?
I don't think it was like last year, it was new, so everyone wanted to do it. And I don't feel this year that as nearly as many people sought.
And I think,
How was it sent out and how often was it sent?
yeah, Julie and I actually talked quite a bit about this. And again, we're inferencing. I don't know.
Yeah.
We thought because we had it, Julie had it set up at, what did we have it set up at, Julie? The, what's that? Hoops and hot dogs. Yeah, and a couple of other things. We think that what may have impacted it is all of the referendum stuff that was coming at
I
people.
was kind of wondering.
And
if that was-
I wonder if it was like overload in things that they had to look at, do, be a part of.
These go in the mail too.
No, these were not mailed. They were, but we did email them.
Emails,
We did, I thought there was going to be an increase because we had it at Hoops and Hot Dogs, right? And we hadn't done it the year before that way. But I think just with all the communication coming at our parents, they missed it. Or it didn't get to them because we sent emails. Julie, did you do texts and phone calls too?
We did text, yeah, we didn't do phone calls, it was text.
Okay, and social media.
Social media.
So we did a lot of the same things.
Because it was what, like half? of
Yes,
what
it was a
the
lot
previous year?
less.
I will
And
acknowledge I'm guilty. I saw the email and then lost it in all my emails and forgot. to
Yeah.
do it. So
there was just,
Partially
at the
guilty of
same
that one.
time we were doing this, you know, it was sort of like the
Look at you
referendum.
two setting the example.
I was gonna say.
How do we?
Hmm.
how
They
do-
were
I mean,
focused on the referendum.
Obviously, with the
so-
referendum being passed, and like, is there something we can do differently? Have you guys talked about that as a group to get more engagement? Because it's, you know, it's hard when you look at 115 responses one
I know.
year, 58 the next year,
Yeah.
and we're saying we improved or we dropped, but we're not
Yeah.
looking at the same. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, the numbers are skewed.
And it's also like only 2 years, right? So, right, like patterns are going to happen over 3-4 years. So it's like, you don't want to celebrate or get too bunched up about any of it. I think there are definitely tactics that we can use. I think we need to see what next year, what happens with next year, if that rate still drops, or if it really was the referendum, or if we get increase. One of the things that I've done in the past is really take note of who's taken the survey, not matching it with the survey, so that I can reach out to specific families and say it just takes a lot of time to do that, right? Because then I'm taking paper copies to them and saying, can you do this if they're not going on their phone? There's definite ways to get the results up. I don't know that I want to react to the low amount so quickly until I know where our family's just inundated.
I think
Um,
you're right. Because after a while, it is just a lot.
You're like,
coming at
wah,
you.
There's no blinds, all
Yes.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Does everybody go into Skyward so it could be attached somewhere in Skyward?
Not the younger grades, not too much.
Use Skyward like the older grades do. Like,
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The lower grades don't use Skyward with the same way that the older grades do, so there's really no
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
like a K2.
It's not uniform.
Curiosity out of ignorance. Can we send these home with kids?
We can do paper copies. The thing is once you start doing that, you need to track who's taken the survey and who hasn't, so that you're not getting multiple surveys by the same
Well,
person.
that's like the same thing as getting permission slips for a field trip, essentially, right?
Right, but
We
they're not
know-
putting their names on it.
They're anonymous
Oh,
surveys.
They're
I gotcha,
anonymous.
I gotcha. Yep.
So when I started at previous schools, I've done that, but I had a tracking form that said whether parents took it or not. Again, it didn't say what, like I didn't know to attribute the parent to the survey, which
You
survey,
just need it.
but I just knew that they took it. And we did not employ that because we didn't think we needed it having it at Hoops and Hot Dogs, but it takes a lot more management and resources to do that.
What if we even just incentivize, like, the class with the most amount of surveys gets an ice cream party, and then parents are more like apt to be like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reason I asked is because obviously the more surveys you get, the better data you get.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
And again, not to panic, but
Yeah, no,
if we
I
go
agree.
58 to 29.
I mean,
this year,
Julie and I
that's probably-
discussed that because I was like, what? She's
what
like,
if-
I've been sending it out.
What
So-
if they get a raffle ticket for Hoops and Hot Dogs?
Well, yeah, could
Yeah.
do something like that.
We could do it at Hoops and Hot Dogs. That would be one thing.
Is
And the
there
other,
other events that you
Yep.
can set it up at too?
the other thing is parent-teacher conferences are in our second parent-teacher. We could change the timing of when the survey is. We could do a survey with parents at the first parent-teacher conferences, but
It's October, November.
Yeah.
But that's October.
Right,
you know,
so-
That's still too early.
because the second
Yeah.
ones aren't as required, so there's not big turnout there.
You get
So
all-
yeah, so there's starts
I
to
think
become
if you
problems.
send it home and they bring it back completed at Hoops and Hot Dogs, they get a free raffle. I think you're gonna get a lot,
So
right?
that. okay,
And that's
so-
more towards the end
But
of
we
the
still
year.
keep it anonymous that way because we
Yes,
just take the
you
survey
could-
and throw it in the
yeah.
file. We just know that the
Yeah.
kid handed it in and then they take home a Hoops and Hot Dogs raffle.
That's a lot more labor intensive because now you have to enter all of those results manually. So the first way you want to do it is always electronic. You want to,
Don't we get like you've successfully completed, and it's like if they show us a picture, then you get a raffle ticket.
And I've taken surveys, not through Google, but like, if you want to be entered into the raffle, now add your email address. It's not associated with your survey. I don't know what company they use to do them, but
But the only option that they get to enter in that email is if they complete the survey.
yeah,
Is
so
there
I
a
think,
link in the community letter that goes out?
There was.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I just, I think I would tack it
We
up
could-
to we had a
yeah,
lot
I mean,
going
we
on
can
and
put
a
it
lot of
out because there's a way
information.
that They
Yep.
can do it electronic and then just like
Constantly
the
sending
trainings you
people.
complete,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, people were definitely overwhelmed. I mean, there
Yeah.
was
I would
something
agree.
new in the email or the mailbox
I know.
almost every day for 6 months.
Hey, they voted yes. We'll take the yes over the survey this year.
Agreed.
So two shout outs. One is to Julie for, she really gets it orchestrated on the front end, make sure that everything is, sort of gets all the students in there. And also did work on tweaking the survey for us. On the back end, then I sort of looked at it, I was like, oh, we need to have the words of our values in there so that kids are hearing it and are recognizing some of those things, and teachers are doing that as well. So that's the one tweak. And then Jenny on the back end took a lot of time to analyze that for us and create the graphs and do comparisons. That's definitely a strength of Jenny's. So I really appreciate you coming tonight and then spending the time doing that. Julie, really appreciate all the work you do in a lot of areas, but in making sure that these surveys are done the way that they should be.
Thank you to both
Thank
of
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board celebrations. Anything this month? Okay, well, let's celebrate us all being here and having some.
I think as a board, we just like to tell Brian how much we do appreciate him
Yep.
helping with all the referendum things, because I'm sure it's a big help for Kim. So that's appreciated. And for me, Tim, you coming here and presenting the budget information, that for me in itself is a great celebration because it's easy to read. And it's, I think, one of our biggest priorities as a board is to make sure that our budget, we're fiscally sound and we're doing what we're supposed to do. So thank you for putting it in easy terms for us so we're able to do our jobs that well.
Well, I'd also like to commend the administration and the staff with everything we have going on, all the new committees. Everybody has really dedicated a lot more time and energy towards moving in a unified direction, and it's noticeable. And I think it should be commended. I appreciate it.
I agree.
I just also, I know I'm not part of the board, but Tim gives up some weekends with me. I mean, it'd be fun to be spending the weekends with me, but we often meet at my house, his house, or Panera. And so my husband, my son get to meet Tim. I get to meet his wife, but we talk budget, and I'm sure they're all like, well, what are you doing on a Saturday or Sunday? So I really appreciate that, Tim, because the week is busy sometimes. So it's great to be able to spend some of my weekend with Tim.
I really celebrate with that.
Yeah. And Brian, I didn't tell you this is all about celebrations, but I've had a couple of staff members say, like, Brian is doing just an excellent job. So it's noticeable, Brian, not only by me and the board, but by some staff members who have privately told me that. So I meant to tell you today, forgot. So
Okay, thanks.
yeah. Okay, crisis handbook.
We'll make a motion to approve.
Sorry, I did have a couple questions. For the intruder drills, did we say we were gonna do those quarterly?
We're doing it 3 times a year. But it will equal out to about 4 times because the first drill, remember, is teaching them where the evacuation site is.
Okay.
And then
when we discussed it, didn't we say we're doing it quarterly? So it's happening basically every season, if you will, or every quarter.
Well,
that is basically quarterly.
yeah,
At the beginning of the year, you're explaining where to go.
Can we explain it? Can I ask another question on it?
so we're doing it. I mean, it is basically quarterly because we're doing it 4 times a year, not in June. So then, right, you're doing it in September. I mean, how many times are you thinking quarterly is, I guess? Because I feel like that's 4 times a year.
Yeah, that's fine. It just says 3 times a year.
Well, okay, because the first one is, we're not doing an Alice drill, like a lockdown drill in September, but I'm counting that as a drill because we're going to the site. It's like the evacuation part of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So sorry about that. Now I am understanding. I didn't understand why you were like, so yes, thank you.
Okay.
And just to back up on that, there is a committee working on the crisis curriculum, so it will be more the teachers and the students will be getting more information every month. I'm meeting with that team. Patty, you scheduled that. Okay. Yep, to review it.
Okay. One thought is, do we want to add the sharing center possibly to the emergency numbers in the event of clothes needed, food, some of those things?
Are you talking about in the?
Yep. It says like,
In the beginning?
Yeah. You don't have to, just something to think about. I know like Dousman's on there.
Yep, I
Some
can.
rally points just in the event of, we need it.
Good point.
And then I know we talked about this last year. Do you guys as DAs or principals like all together talk about, I know some schools had moved to not evacuating immediately on fire drills. And I know.
We had
We
that
talked
conversation
about-
and I feel like it's like the phone system for me. It's going back and forth consistently. I think we landed on, we were having the teachers come out, look quick, but we weren't doing a huge pause. And we landed on that in talking to the fire chief.
And so we talked to the fire chief and the 2 SROs about it.
Okay.
And they said like the go look in the hallway, then go out is they think with this age group is a good idea because again, we talked like you're training kids here, but also for if something happens at home. And so we talked a lot about like if we're saying to a kid, hunker down until an adult tells you to leave, but you're at home and you're 13 and you're watching your 9-year-old and fire start, you know what I'm saying? So like we talked a lot about it's just different when it's little kids because whatever you do here, they do at home too. So, but we are meeting August again for like the county building. So all
Awesome.
the schools are meeting again in August, middle of August.
It's
So
either
if
the 12th
anything,
or 13th. Yeah.
yeah, if anything changes, like I'll bring that to you.
Awesome. Thank you for your work on it.
And then Vicki let me know I need to find out a different number for the Baptist church. So I'll work on who it is that I could call if we need to go there. Typically though, we do really stress with the kids about going to the community building, like the community center. So we don't want to tell them too many places to run. So I'm not as concerned about not having that number.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the 25-26 crisis management handbook as presented.
Motion by Mr. Hurst. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gentile. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Neola policies. Any questions on these? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the above Neola policies as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Hopkins, second by Galich. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the staff handbook. Any questions here? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the handbook
Motion
as
by
presented.
Mrs. Galich. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Regner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The procurement cards.
I'm just met. Sean, are you keeping up?
Mr.
Mr. or President Hopkins goes fast.
I have no.
If not, Vicky and I take.
I have notes.
It was, the employee handbook was,
We have a lot of people taking notes, so.
Yeah.
Gailish made the motion.
Yeah.
I'm
Regner
taking notes too.
seconded.
Okay,
We also
yeah,
have the live stream to go back to.
okay, good. I was just watching her like, okay.
She's probably remembering all your names.
All right, the procurement cards. Any questions on these? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion by Mrs. Galich,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Hurst. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Fund 46 deposit.
So just speak to it a little bit. Tim and I met with Baird yesterday. We are recommending that we put $1,000 in for now, not knowing exactly where the budget's going to be for next year. And that, remember that $60,000 swing. We want to start the time clock on Fund 46. 5 years, right? And so that starts the time clock. We get moving, and then we may bring to the board later, depending on how things go with our two budgets. We could put more in. We don't want to lock up those funds right now, and it does not impact. The biggest thing I was concerned about was it impacting our aid, and it doesn't really impact our aid, no matter what we put away.
The amount that we put away or
Yeah.
the total amount that we have or both?
The amount, so if our aid is based on what we are spending, and because we're going to have a surplus, Tim and I were concerned that that might negatively impact how much state aid we get. We didn't want that to happen, because then that places the burden on the taxpayers.
Yep.
So it didn't matter if we put $60,000 away or $1,000. It really doesn't have an impact on that. So because of that, we're going to play it. We're recommending and we play it very conservatively.
But I guess my question is we're talking about funding this additionally, potentially in the future, and it gets to a certain amount in those funds. Does that play negative? Like, let's say
No,
for the next 5
right.
years, we put in $1,000 this year, 2,000 next year, 3,000 the following year, and eventually we're sitting in a spot where we've got $25,000 in there. Does that have a negative impact on any of it?
No. And that's a really good comment. Basically, when we put it in Fund 46, it counts as money spent.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
the year that we would put any that $1,000, or if we would put $50,000 in, it would count as money spent in the formula for state aid. And that's far too sophisticated to talk too much there, but
It could potentially increase the state aid then if that was the case, based on the amount of funding spent to it.
depending upon if you're one of
Yes.
two categories for districts. Marshall School District up near Sun Prairie, for every dollar they spend, they get about 28 cents on that dollar in additional state aid the next year. For Silver Lake, we're negative 1%-ish. So for every dollar we spend, we give up 1 cent on state aid that we would be getting. So there's a little bit of an incentive maybe to show a surplus.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this. I know it's not technically on agenda here, but what makes up that difference? What represents the difference between Marshall and Silver Lake?
Usually property values per full-time equivalent of students.
Okay.
And maybe a good example, if you take Lake Geneva nearby, or if you take Big Green Lake in the village of Green Lake near my hometown, they get very little state aid in the secondary, the second pot, or tertiary. In fact, they're paying, if they spend $1, they might end up forfeiting maybe 70 cents.
Is this because it was, and so just to make sure I understand which side of the coin the lands on is, because the property values are higher there? Gotcha.
And so Marshall, it's not as high.
Right.
Marshall is
Considerably lower.
property value per full-time equivalent or per member of I hate to use the word student, but for full-time equivalent of a student, yeah, Marshall is much lower. If we take the number of students, 900, property value divide by 900, we'll get a number. And Silver Lakes is going to have a.
So that basically is essentially the equation, the property value total divided by the number of members. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve $1,000 deposit from the 24-25 budget to Fund 46.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Hurst, second by Mr. Gentile. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our next meeting is August 26, 2025, unless we have to have a special board meeting, which we probably will. At this point, I make a motion to move into executive session to discuss items listed above in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes.
Okay.
Motion by Hopkins, second by Mr. Hurst. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks,
you,
Brian.
everyone.
Thanks, Tim. Okay,
Do we need Chromebooks for?
you maybe do.
Mine hasn't
Well,
been working
I can
the
put
whole
it on
time
the screen.
anyways, so-
It'll be all right. I'll put it on the screen. I just have to let the attorney.
I think you were saying last year.
We're still around? Just barely.
No, it tells me
You
that's
aware.
a notification.
But they're not getting anything from it.
Just make it look.